Okay, here we go. Hey, Jabbers. We are so excited to be diving back into another season of Just Another Biz podcast for 2026. And today we are chatting with Khloe Jackson from W Events. And we are talking all about manifesting what you want by goal setting and changing our mindset from scarcity to abundance.
If you don't know Chloe Jackson has 10 years of experience in the event planning industry and she will openly admit to anyone that her spark for crafting weddings and events remains just as bright as the day it was lit. Chloe, that's a rare thing nowadays, so we're gonna have to talk about that. She's a natural born entrepreneur, and since the first day she founded W Events in January 2017, she's been certain this is her life's calling. Her background in venue management, paired with a business degree from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, instilled her with a skill set she needed to begin the journey to where she is today. Chloe's main role at W Event is to cast vision on how the team as a whole can deepen their practice and continue to grow to new heights with each and every occasion they are a part of. She's the lead wedding designer, and her expertise in design touches each and every wedding produced by the W Events team. She has forged tremendous growth for the W Events throughout the years. And in 2020, the company expanded outside of their home base of Chattanooga, bringing the same dedicated service to the Atlanta and Nashville areas. Then in 2024, she spearheaded the rebrand to W Events. The original name, Wildflower Wedding Planning, originated from the resilience and beauty of wildflowers. I love that, and I don't think I knew that. Weddings are exactly that. W Events is a nod to the origin of the business while reemerging in a more refined, simplified way that reflects the milestone of growth the company has achieved over the last 7 years. Chloe is an Enneagram 7, the enthusiast, fun loving, versatile, adventurous person. And today we're excited to chat with her all about manifestation for growing your business. Good grief. That you have done so much. You have lived many lives, Chloe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think we need to go back and talk about how you still have a spark for wedding planning after 10 plus years in the business. Because Gabby and I often admit sometimes we're like, is this still what we want to do with our life? And I would say that a lot of planners feel that way from time to time throughout the year.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure you have those feelings, but I think to
Yes,
have that like spark there and like talk about that would be, it's a really cool thing to have.
absolutely. I am super, super passionate about event planning and wedding planning. It really is just so special to be a part of creating experiences for people. And I think inherently we're all just, driven towards community and being a part of creating those lasting memories that people can chat about and connect through is just really, really amazing. And I think staying rooted in that passion and that reminder when it's busy season and we're working 10 hours a day. It's like just being able to take a moment and step back and like, why am I doing this? And why do I care so much? Is a really good reminder to just staying passionate about it and being just so thankful for being a part of these amazing occasions.
Well, I think what you said is the passion part is really important because passion is what you feel like. If you are passionate about something, you feel like you're not working a day in your life, right? Like that's just, it can be something fun, a hobby, but for many of us, we are passionate about our work, but it's when we start perhaps as losing the passion, or the passion has just morphed into something else and we're now moving our passion to something completely unrelated, whether it be family or or something just more of a hobby. um and yeah, that almost like for wedding planners, that almost has like that 10-year time frame until they've moved on. So it's really good to hear. Like it's fun to hear from someone who is still very passionate. And Carrie and I talk a lot about like hospitality in the event industry and how we're passionate about providing hospitality to our clients, but that for a while, maybe post COVID, that has started to dwindle, and bringing that back and like reigniting that love and why we're in this industry is, I think, something that we talk about often.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just in general, like obviously there's periods of time and kind of how you said earlier before, I feel like I've had three different businesses within the last 9 years that I've had a business. Sometimes I'm feeling really energized and I have like really cool ideas. I want to be my hands in everything. I want to know every project we're working on. I want to meet every client. And then I've had times in my business I wasn't taking on any clients. I was completely removed from all communication. Touched base with the lead planners on what they were working on. But I really wasn't super involved in the business and have recently been reignited after taking that break and moving back into my business and saying, I love this part of my business, the design part, and how can I find ways to really just do more of what I love and less of what I don't.
I think that's key, like taking a break, a step back almost, and being like, what do I love about this? And how do I keep that creative energy, that spark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Chloe. So I know today we're talking about manifestation, getting away from scarcity, which I think for many just entrepreneurs, that's a real mindset for them. And I'm curious, kind of before we dive in about like planner, especially planners, I guess any wedding vendor, in general, but how did you kind of move into this, right? Like sometimes manifestation, I think, is a true discipline to really like change your mindset and like be able to do that and have that consistent thinking on a daily basis. So, what kind of got you into this? Were you having a hard time in your business? Were you in that scarcity mindset, or how did this kind of come about that you're like passionate about talking about this?
This topic really called out to me because I have seen just the power of manifestation and how that has really impacted my business. It's impacted the people around me. Just even when I speak on manifestation and have actually gotten to see the other side of like, okay, I've created this, this is what I want, and then seeing it come to life and watching other people and other vendors that I can connect with on this topic. It really is inspiring to, talk to other people that may be in a rut. I mean, yes, I've definitely gone through the ups and downs of business. And, especially in the beginning where you're just really thinking about like, well, is this like too saturated of a market to get into? There's a million wedding planners out there, but like no one is you and no one is going to be able to replicate the things that you find important. There's planners that really value certain parts of the planning process. And I think that curating those services is it's so special in this industry because we are able to create these businesses that really reflect us and what we find important in life and in business.
Yeah. So, for the planner who feels stuck or like stressed about bookings, how can they tell if they're operating from scarcity versus reality?
Yeah. For the planner that might be stressed about bookings, I would just encourage them to take a step back and really listen to the phrases that they're telling themselves. Mindset is so important to keep on track. And like you said, a discipline. It's an everyday decision where, making sure that what you're speaking to yourself and what you're speaking to others really aligns with what you actually want. And when you're able to take a step back and have that awareness of, okay, this is a scarcity thought, or is this, or if you're contemplating it, kind of looking at it from a logical standpoint, kind of separating like logic from feeling and saying, is this just a feeling that I'm having right now, or is this rooted in some sort of fact or data that I have based on what you find?
I think that's so true that literally we have thoughts like this a million times a day, right? Like this happens all the time. And some thoughts will create like an actual physical reaction where we're like getting really nervous or we can't sleep at night because we're like, oh my gosh, that client didn't respond to the proposal. Does it mean they book someone else? Does it mean like, but to your point, until you know the answer to that question, there is nothing rooted in fact. You are making up scenarios in your head thinking, I'm not good enough for that proposal, or I sent it too high, or I did. And I think that's happening to everybody. I think that's happening multiple times a day. But I guess not such a question, but more of a thought, because it happens to me, is to your point, step back, think about it, be like, okay, the client didn't say no to my proposal yet, even though it was so much more expensive than I thought, that I normally price. So instead of freaking out about it, let me sleep on it and maybe retrain your thoughts. Would you say, like, are there affirmations that you're kind of saying in that moment of feeling like you're spiraling?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely affirmations, just, and I think the awareness really helps me feel settled, like when I am having those feelings and really coming at them from a place of no judgment. Like
Mm.
everybody has these thoughts. They are very normal things to have, but to not take action on them unless they are rooted in that fact base. Like if the client says, "Hey, I hate you and I don't want to book with you," then you can say, "Okay, cool." Like there's some facts behind
Yeah,
that. But it's usually
that'd be
not the case.
terrible.
I know, but it's usually not that bad. The
Yeah.
worst thing we're thinking is never really what's actually happening for the most part.
It's so true. And what would you say, like that was an example of stuff that I think about regularly. What would you say are some common, maybe scarcity thoughts that you have guided wedding pros through? And what are some of the steps? I mean, you mentioned affirmations. Is there anything else that would help them get out of it?
Yeah, I think the most common scarcity thoughts I hear other wedding pros have could be like, oh, if I raise my pricing, then I'm not going to get as many bookings, or there aren't enough clients for everyone. Like, there's only so many people out there getting married, or like, if I don't say yes to this client, then I'm not going to have another wedding that books on that day. And I think really like shifting out of that mindset can look like just becoming more aware of, those thoughts and giving yourself grace. I think it's important to know that we're all having those thoughts, but staying aligned in abundance. And that can sound more like, I'm charging these prices because I know that my product is amazing. I know that the service that I'm able to provide is amazing. I'm able to help people.
Mhm.
So really kind of coming back to that why, and that proof of like, I know that I've done great work for others, and I know that there are people out there that are going to align with what they need, is going to align with what I'm able to provide. Everybody does things differently, as far as all vendors and especially planners. It's definitely like we all have our own processes, and you can tell in a conversation like if a client or potential booking is like going to make sense, and also values and prioritizes the same things that you do. So I think yeah, that would be generally what I would recommend to them.
I mean, manifesting, I think for some people can sound like very woo woo. They're like, oh, how is that actually going to work? But I mean, what would you say are some practical habits that planners, or I guess even just wedding pros in general, can start to implement to attract better opportunities and feel like money is flowing in, even if it's not, like having this feeling of like money is going to come to me and like it flows in and out type of thing.
Yeah, I think a practical first step in attracting better opportunities and overall just more fulfilling life is really writing down your goals overall, the big goals, the scary goals, and posting them somewhere that you can see them every day. And that really poses as a good reminder to stay focused on what is important, and making sure that your small decisions are aligning with those bigger goals each day.
That's okay. Posting it and looking at it is the game changer, because I will
Hmm.
say this. I have made many vision boards in my life, and I make that vision board and I just tuck it away somewhere. And I honestly, I think I'm scared to want some of those things. Like I think there's a part of me that definitely feels like, ooh, this is really ambitious. And who am I to want that or to be allowed to have that? But I think you're bringing something up that's really important to note for our listeners, especially like at the beginning of this new year, making that vision board or just writing the goals down and posting it. And not the more you see it, I imagine the more you feel it and you embody it. And I've heard that a lot with manifesting, is it's not, it's not so much just the words. At some point, it's entering your subconscious. You're starting to feel it. You're feeling like you are a, $50,000 a month income earner or whatever the case may be. You're picturing yourself driving your favorite car, whatever it is, right? But I think it is very scary for some people to even put that on a wall and look at it every day.
Yeah. It helps so much. And I mean, I have my vision board. I have like a digital one on my phone that I use as like the back of my screen, my
Yes.
phone. So I'm like seeing it every day, just like pictures that make me feel embodied with the life that I want to live and the things that I really value right now. And that just helps, as a subtle reminder, I'm not sitting there studying my background screen on my phone, or I'm not, necessarily reading my goals every day, but they're always there. And I think to your point, just really kind of helps me embody that and feels like I'm closer to those goals.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so another thing, and we touched on this a little bit, I think with maybe scarcity mindset, but in general, if there's someone listening who's struggling with they tend to live in a glass half empty kind of world, and we are trying every day to, and they know, and I think the first step about all of this, right, is knowing that you are maybe living in a more negative mindset, scarcity mindset. Um, what's the best place to start in order to shift the daily mindset and sticking with it? Because, okay, we talked about putting maybe our goals up, and it could be maybe affirmations that are up and saying, I am a positive person. Like the world is great today. But I think that's easy. Like, look at the media, right? Look at all the news. We are inundated with negative stuff all the time. And it is very hard to be a positive person. And I think it's fair to say that our mood, our attitude will directly impact our clients, our vendors that we work with. Like we want to go up as showing up for our clients and our vendor teams. How would you say, and maybe does someone manifest a good attitude, or does that go into just a self-check every day type of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I definitely think positivity is a choice. I feel like you may not feel positive today, but to choose to show up in a positive way for yourself, your business, and for those around you is a conscious choice that gets easier and easier with time. I think the best place to start, like if you are just in kind of a negative spot in your business, or like you feel like maybe things aren't like working out the way that you thought that they would, just know that everybody has felt like that, and that is a very normal feeling. But I think what's helpful for me during those times is really kind of taking myself out of the equation and kind of looking at it objectively, my situation, whatever it is. And if there is like a negative thought that comes up, just trying to take a look at it, take a neutral understanding of the situation, and like always speaking what you want into existence. So if you're hoping to like book more high paying clients and you currently aren't doing it, then taking more of a mindset shift of your current situation, and staying present in the moment of, I'm investing in myself right now. I'm investing in my business. I'm positioning myself to take on more of those exciting and challenging clients in the future.
Well, I like what you said there, and Carrie, you might want to add to this, but speaking it into existence. I think that's literally what we're maybe thinking about when we think of actual physically doing this manifesting type of work is you do have the power to speak it into existence, and it perhaps will be over time and it's repetitive. And I think Carrie, you maybe even said it earlier. It's like or maybe Khloe did, but a daily practice. Like
Hmm.
we can't expect it to be instantaneous, but I'm imagining, I don't even know, Khloe, if you have a time frame of when things start to shift for you, or is it just based off of how often people are changing their thoughts? Is it based on what their thoughts are? Like how quickly are people changing?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think good things take time. I really believe that. And I think that things oftentimes take longer than we think. I am generally, I would say, like more positive in nature. Like, I'm like, oh, if I change this in my business, like tomorrow, I'm going to see the results and everything's going to be better. But, I usually, if I'm setting goals, I like have like, okay, this is the time frame that I think it should happen, or ideally, I would love it to happen immediately, of course. But if I'm looking at it objectively and reasonably and saying like, okay, I think it'll happen between like 2 months, for example, I always add a little bit of extra cushion on that. Whether it be like an extra, like if I think it's going to take 2 months, it'll probably take about 4 months. And just, if you know what to expect and you know that it's going to take time, it makes that transitional time just a lot easier. And I don't think that anyone should ever expect like, okay, my life is going to change tomorrow.
Right.
Because anything good in life takes time.
Yeah, I think even going back to your point, Gabby, of like we're inundated with like negative things all day long. And I think it is true of like what you consume, who you surround
Mm.
yourself with is really important to how you feel negative or positive. And I think there's like even a few people I follow on Instagram that are like some of the most positive people ever. And I'm like, I want to be like that. They like, and granted, I know Instagram's a highlight reel, but it's like seeing them and like what they're accomplishing in their businesses, the way they seem to go about life. It is like contagious because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to set some big goals. And I think that's really important for us to like what we're consuming. I think we dismiss that a lot of like, feeling negative because of what we're consuming online or who the people are surrounding us.
Yeah, and Carrie, actually, that's a great point that like we talk about this all the time that you're the average of the five people you surround yourself with. But yeah, you said it perfectly. Like if you're just watching the news, you're gonna feel like the news. You're gonna feel the doom and
Yeah.
gloom. And you're yeah. So Carrie, keep watching those highlight reels of those popular, those happy, super happy people because
Gabby
it
and I often, I think sometimes we're like opposite, but like Gabby will be in a mood of like, we are manifesting, things are coming to life for this podcast. And then like another day I'm doing that. So it's like, we're encouraging each other. But Chloe, I'm curious for you, like when you're kind of in a negative mindset or you feel like you're spiraling, so to say, how do you like pull yourself out of that? Is it like an immediate thing or does it take you like a day or so? Or like what things do you implement to kind of get you out of that negative spiral?
or do you never spiral?
Yeah.
Girl, I'm spiraling sometimes. Don't you worry. I think it's just important during those times where negative on my best days, right? I'm like, oh, I identify it immediately. Like, oh, this is a negative thought. I need to go back to my personal practices. I do a lot of yoga, and that helps me keep my body feeling really strong, my mind feeling really strong, leaning into just my hobbies, things that I love. Sometimes if I'm having a negative mindset about my business, then writing down all of the great things about my business, like taking that time to, you know, sit down, change your mindset. There are always good things that come with the bad, but if we're focusing on the good things and trying to just accept the things that are less than ideal for what they are, I think that helps you get out of them easier and more quickly, and it does become easier as you do it more often. But yeah, I've had like days where I'm like, oh, it's been a couple of days, and I didn't notice that I was having these negative thoughts, but now that I'm aware, I can do something about it.
I love that. Just even having practices outside of work where it's like yoga, things that like keep you grounded or bring you back to like a positive mindset of things that you enjoy. I think that's super helpful.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, like manifestation, like you said, Carrie, it comes in waves, and I cannot get it to stick permanently. And obviously, I think it just needs to practice. But like I'm born on 11/11. I see 11/11 all the time. The number 11 is everywhere all the time for me, but only if I'm in it and I'm like, okay, universe, like think good things need to happen. I need to see this number to like reassure me that I'm moving in the right direction. Sure enough, today I kind of asked that question in my mind, and I think there was like exit 11, and then something else was 1111, and an address was 111. And, but I want that every day. And I think, like, is it a question? Do you start your day being like, okay, I am open to receiving signs and abundance in any way, shape, or form? Because this is the other thing is I don't necessarily think abundance needs to come in with $1 million check in your mailbox, which would be lovely, but unlikely. Like we have to also be realistic about things. So I look for little surprises throughout the day. But is that something that I should be doing every single day and at least ending the day with, okay, I did see one, like this one thing happened. It could have been very small, but it was really good, or it made me happy, or I smiled about it, or whatever the case may be. Like, do you look for things every day?
I think that's beautiful. I love that you do that. I think on the best days, it's like you can find something amazing or some sort of sign or some sort of guide in the right direction. And if you're really looking for them and you're open to receiving them, I think negative energy can really close you off energetically to the things that you want. So finding those amazing things that happen during the day. There's always something great that has happened and really focusing on what they are. But then also, like I said, just giving yourself grace if you didn't think of anything great today, that's okay too. I think we can just show up as the best versions of ourselves and do our best each day. And that's all we can do.
True.
I like it, giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Okay, so Khloe, I mean, a lot of wedding pros are busy, like all the time, even in a slow season, right? We have lots of back end business things to do. So, from your perspective, like, what is a realistic way for wedding pros to sit down and set goals without feeling like they're adding a ton of pressure to their current workload? Because I think that's probably why a lot of wedding pros put it off because they're like, I just have so much to do. That's not really worth my time right now. But as we are talking about today, it is worth your time to like write those down and put them in front of you so that you see them every day.
Yes. Yes, definitely a realistic way for planners, wedding pros to set goals and not feeling like it's an extra workload is really kind of planning out your week. So this is what I do. Um, and it makes future planning feel fun. Because being a planner and even probably with other disciplines in the wedding world as well, you're kind of having to work with both sides of your brains. The logistical side, which is like the emails, the admin, the timelines, the details, and then there's that creative side of the art behind your work and the designing and more big picture thinking about, business development and your goals and things that you're wanting to work on. And so I really plan my week accordingly. I have my Tuesdays to Thursdays are really heavy, like meetings and admin and emails. And then I keep my Mondays and Fridays as kind of flex days. So that really keeps me open to having the opportunity to feel creative in those days and promote more high level thinking and actually allows me to make it feel fun. It doesn't feel like another thing on my to-do list because I'm using more of that like creative side of my brain and that's my priority on those days. And then, I found that if I try to mix too much of both in one day, I can feel really overwhelmed. Like with the emails, but then also trying to like create design boards. Like if I have like my priority days where I'm focused on using one side of my brain versus the other, I feel like it makes the goal planning more fun. It makes the goal setting just easier to approach because I know like I'm not really prioritizing emails right now, and that doesn't even have to be a whole day. For some people, it could be my mornings are like answering emails, and my afternoons are free to work on myself or my business because it kind of leans into a little bit of like working on and in your business
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that you're making time for both.
Yeah, I think it's important to like compartmentalize your life essentially, right? Because it is hard for your brain to go back and forth all day. And it feels, I think to me, really overwhelming to be like, I have these emails, I have a design board I need to do, I need to figure out timeline, like logistics. And I think separating those into different categories and different days is really helpful and just helps you to refresh your mindset.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Khloe, are you doing yearly goals and then quarterly goals, monthly goals, daily goals? Like how much are you breaking it down?
I think at the beginning of goal setting, I think it's really important to create those like yearly or, 5 year goals, your 10-year goals, and really kind of thinking like big picture. And then once you have that big picture goal, you can kind of like keep breaking it down. I don't feel like I have to like write them down quite as like detailed as I did in the beginning, but it was helpful in the beginning of goal setting and manifesting to really like, okay, if this is my goal, here's the 10 steps within that goal to reach that one goal. And here's what I can do this day, this week, this month. Now that I've kind of developed that discipline, I feel like I can kind of process a lot of those details internally, or just like they come a lot more naturally now that I've like mapped it out. But I do think it's important to do in the beginning to write down as much as you possibly can. And even in an unorganized way, like if it's just journaling and like brainstorming, what are my actual goals? Like, what do I actually want? I think that the more you can write down, the better.
Yeah, and I almost feel like it's two different types of people that would do this. So like the type A wedding vendors would have it so perfectly like goal one and then all the steps below. And I'm a type B planner. And so for me, it's the brain dump. Like I need to get it all out of my brain on paper and then maybe I'll reorganize it or I'm just going to leave it as a big old scrambled mess, but it'll make sense to me. But getting it out feels good. And it feels like truly, again, going back to making sure we do write it down, it's a little more concrete. It's not just an idea anymore. It's something that we are telling ourselves we're working towards. And so having it written down is great. So, no, I like that. Um, okay. So, obviously, we're at the beginning of the year. We are heading into a whole brand new season of weddings, possibly new price points, new packages, anything like that. How could planners, or again, wedding pros, price or maybe reprice their services from a place of abundance as opposed to fear of losing bookings? And let me give a quick example. I have been doing this for 12 plus years. And even this past year in 2025, I lowered my prices for a wedding venue because I'm on a preferred list. I'm competing against other planners who are slightly lower prices than me, and I wasn't booking anything. And I lived in fear of scarcity because I was getting inquiries, but nobody was booking. And I lowered my prices and I booked a few and I hated the feeling. Like I was just like, oh, this doesn't feel good to me. I offer such a higher value than I think these other planners do based off the level of support that I give them. And this doesn't feel good. I feel like I can't offer them that level of support, but that's not going to make them feel good. So, maybe coach me through that, but also what advice would you give to other people that are just struggling with their price points?
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. And also, I've been there. So I totally get it. But I think when like you said, when we take the time to know like ourselves, the capacity that we have to realistically like give and still have time for like a healthy personal life, and that makes pricing a little bit easier to explain to others. And like there's so much that I know that you give to your clients, and like the experience space and the design, and like what you have to give is so unique and specialized to you. So really like sitting down and like figuring out like what that number is, what you should be pricing in order to live and show up as the best version is of yourself for your clients, and avoiding burnout. I think is so important. And I think that there is kind of ways to navigate competing with the other vendors that might be on the preferred vendors list because I recently just had that same situation where I was like, man, do we just need to like lower our prices? Like they're booking like, and these are beautiful weddings that I'm like, they seem aligned. Like I want to be booking at this venue because it's gorgeous. And I think that when I started explaining what I feel like I bring to the table, I think that goes back to like your marketing and your messaging. Like, what are you putting out there? Because, like, if people feel connected to you on a personal level, like, they will pay whatever it is to get the service that they want. And so the messaging behind what you're putting out on the marketing front, and then also like what you're saying in your sales call, like really getting to the root of like what it is that they need help with, and just showing like instead of just like these are my services, this is what I do, but just like this is why my service is specialized to what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and Carrie and I both took a class called, were you going to mention this, Carrie, about
Uh,
irresistible selling?
oh no, I was gonna say, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just was going to touch on the fact that she, the creator of this course, says make sure to sell the emotional benefits, not the list of what you offer, because at the end of the day, we offer the same thing, right? It's just
Mhm.
slightly different words, perhaps. But yes, to your point, Khloe, why do they want to book with us? And so maybe that just goes back to okay, so now moving into 2026, we are going to put ourselves out there more, show our personality, put maybe that down on our goals of places we want to work. Because I think behind manifestation, there has to be action. We can't just sit there and hope. We have to probably take some actions.
Yeah, absolutely. And investing in yourself too, like going to the conferences and going and hiring the coaches. And I think all of that really builds the confidence to up your prices to what they probably should have been before, but you're able to explain it better now to people and sell yourself for what you're actually worth and what's going to allow you to be the best version of yourself.
For sure. And I'm curious, Gabby, if you feel icky about booking these clients because you have now learned they are not the right clients for you, or just because you lowered your price. Because I think that's a huge thing to keep in mind of like, don't lower your price because you're probably then going to get a lot of clients that aren't aligning with you because they're just booking you off of price versus people who are like, I love your work. I love what you have to offer.
Great question. I think both have happened. I think my first attempt was not low enough that it was making a huge difference necessarily in the type of client. But then I did get one. Carrie, you and I talked about this, I think, but it was like, a 19-year-old bride that's going to they're not going to drink. It's going to be a DIY everything. And I was like, this makes me want to cry. And no offense to them. Like I did that. I paid my
It's not your
dues.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my ideal. And everything she was saying on the phone, I was like, I never want to receive this inquiry ever again. Like, I'm going to triple my prices. so, so, yeah, but I think you're right, Carrie. It has to, and that's the thing, it has to feel aligned because I would have taken less money for a chef's kiss client, right? Someone who's like, everything about them is so great, but for whatever reason, their budget's just not there. But like, I would have taken that on for sure. But I wouldn't have taken, yeah. And I don't think I would have gotten that icky feeling. And it must have just
Yeah.
been because I'm just not aligned with these other inquiries. So all that to say, I put my prices back up to normal.
Hey, it's
and
a learning lesson, and
yeah,
you get to decide what you want to do in your business.
that's
So,
right. We're the boss.
Chloe, I'm curious to talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned you have a team and you took a step back for a little bit and just like let them lead your clients, your events, and then now you're stepping back into it. I guess I'm curious when you kind of decided you needed to make that shift of like, I need support, I need help, I need to outsource things. and how you kind of got into that mindset of like, I don't have to do everything myself. I can trust somebody else to come into my business and help me grow this. And so I'm curious how your mindset around that shifted to like, I need to do everything myself to like, no, I can bring in support and help me.
Yeah, I love this question. I love having a team. I've always kind of had a team. So as far as like when I mean, from day one, when I like was serious about my business and I was like, this is what I'm doing. I worked on it part time while I had like another job in the beginning, but I mean, I still had an assistant who helped me like 5 hours a week. And it really helped me establish like what I look for in a team and creating those processes because I've had someone on early on and being able to kind of learn what you need from a team, and that has shifted with the different priorities and life that has happened. So it's been something to where, okay, I need more support in the like logistical side of things, or I need more support in overall like handling of everything. And I think when you build a team, it really allows you to not feel as stressed. And I mean, I believe, like I said, in doing more of what you love and less of what you don't love, and just knowing that sometimes that changes. And so, like, your team also has to fluidly change with you. And having a team is just essential to life, and making sure that you're not like absorbing all of that stress, absorbing all of the responsibility, because when you're able to have that support and those people around you that can help you through like, okay, I'm sick this week, and that doesn't mean that the emails are piling up. I know that I have support and I have someone that has my back that's going to be like keeping things moving along while I can't give in this particular way at this particular time. And I just love having a team in general because I think that's honestly what has helped me like stay passionate about it after 10 years. It's seeing the light in what they're doing and like what they're learning. And, oh my gosh, I did my first lead wedding. Like they're so excited about it. I'm so excited for them. And it can be hard, right? Like this is your baby. Like our businesses are our babies, and relinquishing that control and trusting someone else is very, very, very difficult. And, when you create those processes, those training processes that work where, in the beginning of my training process, I'm hyper micromanaging. Like I am checking every detail, every email, all gets approved through me. Don't send anything out. But then once they've proven that like, okay, we've got this, like I'm not having to fix anything in your email. I'm not having to move anything around on the design board. Then I'm like, okay, you're ready to go off and do your thing and make this what you've learned the foundation of creating something beautiful and unique to what they want to do. So just saving me time, saving me stress, and making sure that the clients are getting the best experience, because if it's all on you, like life happens, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to show up for people 100% of the time. So
I think that's such a like great thing to know about yourself. Like you love managing a team. It sounds like you love like teaching people and helping them to grow into that. And I think not every wedding pro wants that, right? But I do think it's important to keep in mind that like you can still outsource. Like even if it's not someone taking on your clients and weddings or whatever, I think bringing someone on as an assistant or any other capacity that maybe you're not the strongest in that they can be stronger in is super helpful to your team. So I think every wedding pro kind of deciding like how can you take some of the load off you that feels best for you.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's like, people that help manage like inboxes and like, they're not talking to taking on clients per se, but they're just doing like a portion of like admin work on the back end. Or like, I love when people get on like social media managers, like social media help is such a game changer. And having help with that, because it's a lot to manage. And we have like, as business owners, a lot on our plate, but, yeah, having people that can help out in whatever capacity you need is so important. And, you know, just trusting it can be scary to take that step and hire because you're like, am I going to be able to pay them? That's going to be less that I get paid. But really thinking about it in a mindset of, I know that when I'm able to be freed up in this way and I'm focusing on more of the things that I love, that more of the things that I love will come into my life and make it better.
Love that.
Love
And I
that.
think, realizing we're not good at every aspect of our
No.
business. Like I can openly admit I'm not great at social media, but I try my best.
Yeah,
So, we all have our strengths.
that's true. Well, Khloe, to wrap things up, we would love for you to share a time where you maybe shifted your mindset yourself in something that was maybe in your business and it changed. I mean, we'll say almost immediately because you seem to be the manifesting queen and you are able to expect things to change the next day, but maybe in a shorter amount of time, but something that you were struggling with or wanted to have happen, you switched your mindset, you manifested, whether you put some goals on paper, like walk us through what you did and how that changed for you.
Yeah, I can remember a time in my business where I had a calling, like that was like a small calling at first, and then eventually moved into just a bigger feeling where when I went through my rebrand from Wildflower Wedding Planning to W Events, that I knew that I wanted to get more involved in my business and I wanted to do bigger things and bigger weddings. So creating those goals and just really like mapping it out and saying like, okay, what are the steps that I need to take in order to get to where I want to be? I hired a coach, and I think that that was the biggest shift in my business of like my being able to kind of put that mindset into action, kind of like we talked about earlier, where it's honestly like they can a coach can really help you and train you to do and the things in your business that you need to do that you may not even be able to see because they've been doing it longer, they've been there. So I really think like leaning on support and leaning on help and people who have walked this path is going to give you the most immediate change in your business, because it's just more wide lens for them. They're able to kind of say like, okay, cool. I remember when I was in that portion of my business, this is what helped me get through it. And they can guide you in a more immediate sense. But like I said, I do think that good things take time and we should never like be holding on to immediate gratification for anything. But I would say, like, if you're looking for quick change, hiring a coach or signing up for the course or listening to this podcast, which has tons of great knowledge to inspire, is probably going to be your quickest route.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I think that just goes back to like what are you consuming, on a daily basis and like who you're interacting with to help you really change that mindset. Because I think when we're alone with our own thoughts, it can, spiral negative really quickly. So I think that's a great place to start. Khloe, how can people find you online? How can they work with you? And what do you all offer with your business?
So we offer full service planning and design at W Events. We really love working in the Southeast. Our main markets are in Atlanta, Nashville, and Chattanooga, but we always love to travel for the right clients. We are really passionate about creating those memorable memories for our clients. And you can find us on Instagram at W Events Co. I also have a personal Instagram, Khloe with a K, Jackson Co. And then you can also read more about our services and look at our past portfolios on our website, www.weventsco.com.
I love it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was such a good conversation. I feel like I need to go write down some goals today and start, implementing those daily practices of manifesting a different life, different goals for ourselves. So, thanks so much, Khloe.
Thank you guys.
Hold on, I have to find the stop button.
Khloe, I've been admiring